And that's a 3-0 win right after a Champions League dub. That's what I'm talking about, boys. Welcome to the video. Barcelona won again today. We're happy. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that game went. Obviously, Getafe is always a nightmare, always a difficult thing for Barcelona to deal with. We've had a lot of struggles against them. They're always incredibly physical. That's usually the main takeaway from these matches. It's not like they're incredibly talented at going forward. They're not even great defenders. They're very physical. You could see that today, even with the way they were kind of bullying Barcelona every time the team got off the ball, right? Once the guy passed it away, someone came and slammed into him basically to push him away, probably to make it difficult for him to do a follow-up run, to run around the defender and do a 1-2, something like that. Those kind of things, to run into space. The guys were making it very difficult and painful to do that. It didn't do well. It worked too well for them. We ended up scoring 3. Ferran Torres scored 2, almost had a third, but slammed it against a crossbar. And then who scored the next one? Dani Olmo scored a very clean, very good finishes. All of them were really, really solid goals, really fun goals to score. And I'm happy about it. I also don't think it was our most unbelievable performance, but it doesn't really matter. I think it was good. I don't know why I said that. It was good. It was good. And the fact that we didn't hold that high of a line, which is one of the announcers on ESPN Plus pointed that out. And I think it's a good thing to point out that last season we dropped some weird points against lower ranked teams in La Liga because the high line was exposed. And we were used to seeing the high line exposed once in a while. Either it ended up being offside or they'd miss the chance. We'd make a great tackle, or they would score, right? That's the only thing that could happen from there. And today, I don't know if they had a shot on goal. I mean, they definitely, I don't know, they didn't have anything impactful in the first half, really. I mean, they definitely had shots on goal because João Garcia saved a couple, but it was just locked down, right? And the team was playing a little bit deeper, but they still had the vast majority of the possession of the ball. I do think that going into the second half, maybe the guys were tired, maybe the weather was disgusting, and maybe that was weighing on them a little bit, but the control left a little bit. Maybe Bordalas made some changes with the Getafe side, and they were able to control the game and tempo a little bit better. Obviously, they didn't score, and we ended up making a couple changes, notably Ferran Torres went off for Fermin Lopez, and Frankie de Jong went off for Marc Casaro. And I thought it was interesting, right? Because Frankie is a very controlled player, very important player for this team. And I think against Newcastle, you saw that his relationship with Pedri was crucial to winning that game, especially maintaining that game in the final stages of the match when we did concede. Today, they took him off early, and I think part of the reason that, and then Pedri ended up going off a little bit later, and I think that's part of the reason that we saw a little bit less control in the second half. Even if I'm not saying Casado wasn't good, but the Pedri and Frankie de Jong are just unrivaled in just managing the ball and managing the development of the possession of the side in a way that Casado just is not necessarily there, especially not there yet. He just doesn't play enough to maybe show me that he can do that. And we conceded a little bit more opportunity for Getafe at that point. It still didn't matter, though. And so we walked out of that game 3-0 with a lot more chances that could have gone in for us. We didn't miss any clear big chances, in my opinion. I think to see Ferran Torres finishing like that, to see Marcus Rashford coming in and creating great opportunities after apparently he was supposed to start, and then he didn't start because he was late to the training or late to the match today. Which I think is pretty funny, but it ended up working out just fine, in my opinion. Just fine. And we'll get into the rankings right now. João Garcia, I'm going to give him an 8.5, 9. I don't know. He didn't have a ton to do when he had something to do. He came up and decent on the ball. Made a few choices where, maybe he didn't need to come out of his box and let the center backs handle it. But realistically, like the announcers pointed it out, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Obviously, it didn't matter. We didn't concede. Clean sheet's a clean sheet. Moving forward, I think the back line was spectacular, which is funny because it was Christensen and Eric Garcia at the center back spot, which has been difficult for Barcelona to play with in the past couple matches, right? They had struggled in a couple more. And apologize if you guys can hear something. There's like a festival literally going out on the block of my street. But it's nice to see them able to control the game and able to rotate the guys after seeing Cubarsí and Araujo play against Newcastle, having that managed the guys there, and everything was good. Koundé played very well as well, and same for Gerard Martin. I think it was all very solid. Koundé was getting beat up a lot, but managed his body well, managed possession well, didn't concede anything significant, and I do really think the team is settling into a very healthy spot, especially after a little bit of a rocky beginning of the season where we weren't sure. This team is playing fluidly together. I'll do ratings real quick. Kunde, I think an 8. 8 is fair. Same for Eric Garcia and Christensen. I think they were both very good. And Jordan Martin, I genuinely think that. I think it was very solid overall, and all I want to see in a game like that's difficult, that is going to be followed up by another match on Thursday, so these guys need to rotate. You need to see some rest given to these guys, especially the guys that play the most. That's why Pedri came off. That's why Frankie came off. That's why Ferran Torres, who has been really good, came off on a brace, and Rafinha as well. Now, moving to the midfield, Pedri and Frankie, I think they were very good, very good. I think Pedri was better. I think Frankie was still very solid. I'm giving Pedri a 9, Frankie an 8. It's really hard to beat them right now, and unless one of them makes a big mistake, I think Frankie was a little bit less good in the second half. He was very dominant in the first half, and it seemed like maybe his tackles were a little bit slower. And again, he came off injury. That was his first game back for the Newcastle match. And so I'm not surprised. Maybe he needs some rest. Whatever. Pedri was great, though. Pedri never does anything wrong. God, that guy's perfect, dude. This kid he's the guy. He's the man. He's the GOAT. He's fantastic at this game that we call football. Now, moving up the pitch, we had Dani Olmo start at the number 10 spot, which made sense in a game like this. I think the control he can give against Getafe, which is a very gross team to play against sometimes, is nice to see. And I think it was great today. I think it was fantastic. Ended up scoring, played together with Rafinha and Lewandowski and Ferran Torres incredibly well. It looks great, and I love that. I like Fermin a lot. I love that it could still work with Dani. I love that this team could still create. And yes, I think Getafe were bad. This team was still played very well, and that's great to see. It's not like we scored individual worldies, right? I think, especially Ferran Torres' first goal, great team play, great ball from Rafinha to find Dani Olmo, great flick back from Dani into the path of Ferran Torres, and the great first-time finish from Ferran Torres there. And so I think Dani easily deserves like an 8.5 or a 9. He ended up rotating a little bit with Fermin in the second half of the game, where Fermin dropped back into Pedri's position. When Bardghji came in for Pedri, played on the right wing. They switched some stuff around. It looked like Hansi Flick was playing FIFA with the guys he was bringing in. He played with Rashford at right wing and then left wing. Played Fermin, dropped him into center mid. Then he was rotated back up to Cam. Dani Olmo was dropped back. Okay, it worked. I don't care. It was funny to see, and it worked out, right? We won, and I think Dani Olmo was very solid, linked up well, and I know a lot of people have been like on and off with him. Today he was great. Can't say anything else than that. People are going to, whatever. I think he was really, really solid. 8.5 is fair. Rafinha, I'm upset with him for a couple of reasons, but I think he was very solid. I think the ball to find Dani Olmo was fantastic. I think, obviously, he got the assist for Ferran Torres' first goal. Great finding him there. Our second goal. And so I think it's probably a 7.5 for that. The reason I'm not giving him a higher rating is because he could have got a second yellow at one point where he I think it was when he kicked the guy's legs out from under him. It was very clear, at least to me. I know I have a different point of view than Rafinha does closing him down, but the Getafe player was clearly going to draw a foul from him as he was running to the byline, right? And Rafinha should have read that. Yeah, you can still put pressure on his back, let him draw the foul, but don't try and kick around him like that. It's not necessary. You're already up 2-0, and it's going into the 45th minute. You're almost there. Just chill out, take a breather. Or did he get a yellow? No, he didn't get a yellow card for that, and then he got a weird... Okay, all right, sorry. He got a weird yellow card for something later after that move that I think was retaliation by the referee for not giving it to him in the first thing. Weird behavior from the ref there. I think the ref is that ref sucks. Like he truly has no idea what he's doing, and he's walking on eggshells trying to recover from the mistakes that he already made. He is terrible. Then Rafinha kind of like pushed the guy. That's what I was talking about. He pushed one of the players. Like, that wasn't bad, but he definitely pushed them. And I think that could have been enough for another referee to give him a yellow. Obviously, if I'm the referee, I'm not giving that a yellow. I think that's stupid, but it doesn't really matter sometimes. Sometimes that's how the way the cookie crumbles. When you're up 2-0, you don't need to do that. And I would have just liked to see a little bit less from Rafinha there. Overall, he didn't get a second yellow, and that's what I think is the important part, but we can still read into some of it. So 7.5, I think, is fair. Also, I think I'm okay with him being rotated, right? With him playing, I think he played the full 90 against Newcastle and the Ballon d'Or ceremony tomorrow, then having to play again on Thursday. A lot of football. I'm okay with Rashford coming in, especially since he scored a brace against Newcastle. He deserves to play a little bit, and he worked out really well. When he came in, I thought he was great, but we're not there yet. Ferran Torres, he's my man of the match, 10 out of 10. I think he could have been even better, but he was great. He was really, really good. Clinical is not something I ever say about my boy El Tiburon, but my goat, dude. Where's the Family Guy anime edit of my goat? He was great today. If he can finish like that every game, oh my God, he can't. I know he can't, but that's okay. He looks fantastic. He's played really well in the past couple matches, and I'm excited to see more of him. If he develops, who knows what gonna if he develops at the end of the season, he scores 25 goals. Who knows? He's already scored 4, and I think that was the 5th game in La Liga. So who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? Right? It's early. Lewandowski still hasn't scored in La Liga, I don't think. Or no, he scored 2 in La Liga. But we'll see. We'll see how that develops and everything, and I'll keep my eye on it. But it's nice to see nonetheless. And whoever is on the left side of Barcelona's front three always eats. It was Rashford against Newcastle. It was Ferran today, and so he was great. Lewandowski, very solid. He dealt with a lot. These guys were pushing him around the whole time, doing the same thing they were doing to Koundé and everybody who got the ball, and he managed it well, drew a bunch of fouls, opened up space for his teammates, and had a few opportunities himself, put a couple good strikes on the ball. 7.5, I think, easily 8 too. Really good. I do think everyone was really, really good today. All the subs were great. Firmino was very solid. Did have a ton of opportunities, but I think he did his job pretty well. Obviously, he looks like he wants to be forward a lot, and he dropped back to play Pedri's position for a little while. And at that point, it just looked a little bit unnatural for him. He wanted to go forward really badly. I don't think that's a bad thing, right? For what I want him to do, especially with Gavi and Bernal out. You don't necessarily, or Gavi out, Bernal not necessarily ready 100%. You're okay with Firmino taking a step back and not necessarily looking great, but just doing a job for the team. And I think that's what happened today. Obviously, we didn't concede while he was back there. Probably a 6.5, 7. Who else came in? Araujo came in for Gerard Martin, and Martin was shifted, or Eric Garcia was moved over to the left, who played well again there. Araujo looked very solid. Made a weird pass at one point where I thought he was going to go wide to Koundé. Instead, he passed it back to João Garcia and put us under a little bit of pressure. I'm reading into that a little bit. 6.5, 7. Fine. Bardghji, I want to see him more. I want to see him get more minutes. I would have liked it in a game like this today. I think Hansi Flick, though, was trying to reward Rashford for just playing so well against Newcastle, and I get it. And today he looked great. Dude, I'll give Bardghji a 6.5. Rashford, I'm going to give him a 7.5 because he had a couple really good opportunities. Obviously, I'd like either him to score or him to put a ball into his teammates, and I don't care, though. He looked good. He struck the ball really hard a couple times and had a couple chances. I'm really happy with the way this team is turning out, guys. I really, really can't complain. Casado as well. I think he managed the game well. This is why he's there, to eat up minutes in these games and to keep control of this team when Pedri and Frankie can't play as much. Loved it today. My guy was great. He was great. I'm not disappointed at all. And boys, I'm so happy the way the depth of this team is filling out. We play Oviedo on Thursday. That is going to be, should be very easy. They've been terrible basically for this entire season so far. Not terrible, but not great. And so I don't expect the biggest problem from them. And they just came up from the Segunda. So obviously not the biggest worry for me, but we want to see rotation nonetheless, and I'm excited. Obviously, the more important game is the PSG match, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Remember, Ballon d'Or ceremony is tomorrow. I think it happens around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's obviously going to be run out for like an hour after that. I'm going to be in the airport at that time, but if something happens that affects our boys a little bit extra, I'm definitely going to hop on the camera in the airport and talk about it. So you guys might see that tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, something happens for the boys. Otherwise, hey, fair play, no worries. But I'll see you guys all in the next one. Visca Barça. Peace.